Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Eran Back, founder and CEO of Green Inbox, the tech marketing company behind many successful Kickstarter campaigns. Green Inbox helps maximize return on advertising spend, and their track record is robust. Eran, welcome to the Binge. How you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. All good.
So, Eran, I got to tell, this is one of the interviews that I mapped out right from the beginning of when we started the Binge. Most people that watch or listen to our podcast know that we're trying to come at the industry from many different angles. One of the angles we haven't covered off yet is getting into paid media advertising. So the whole function of amplification and optimization and so forth. So I thought Green Inbox is a great fit. So thanks for coming on the Binge. And I thought we'd start off by just having you describe to us exactly what is Green Inbox.
Okay, so Green Inbox, as you said, we are a tech marketing company, and keeping it like really short, we provide one service: Facebook ads for Kickstarters. That's it.
Wow. So that's a pretty focused business model, I would say.
Yeah, very, very, very focused.
So where did you start? Like, how did you get into this industry? We'll talk deeper about Green Inbox in a moment, but I'm curious as to how you got to this point, or where Green Inbox came from. Is this something you started after running a Kickstarter campaign, or how did you get into it specifically?
It was completely by chance. I was, I think, 9-10 years ago. I was helping a friend on Kickstarter. He had an idea for a video game. I think the name was something Bob Marley, something like that. Like a video game in Jamaica, sure. Something like that. He raised $50,000. It didn't work out because his goal was $120,000. But some of the things we did, I thought that we can spin this off and maybe create a standalone service. And making a long story short, we started with something completely else and added a bunch of services for Kickstarters. And around 2 years ago, we decided we want to focus only on Facebook ads. That's the story of Green Inbox.
Nice. And so Green Inbox essentially works hand in hand with Kickstarter, people who are running Kickstarter campaigns. How do you guys integrate into those campaigns? What does that process look like? How does it work?
You mean like how do we communicate? How do we reach to people?
So someone hires you
so
someone hires you as a company and says, you know what, we've heard a lot of great things about Green Inbox, and they want to use the Green Inbox system. What does that system look like? So from the moment they say, okay, let's start working together, to your involvement, what is that involvement specifically?
Okay, so first of all, it's I would like to take a step back.
Sure.
We started with most of our, I would say 100% of our client in 2019 or 2018 were in 2018 were design and tech. We didn't do a single tabletop game. In 2019, I think we did a few, like 20%. This year, sure. It's 80% tabletop campaigns.
Wow.
So let's dive into the tabletop campaign. Let's say I get an email or I send an email to someone, hey, we want to partner up. So first of all, there's like the review process, because one of the things that we realized that we're not magicians. We can scale if certain numbers meet some criteria. So we ask a lot of questions. What is the number of video views? How many backers, how many people visited your page according to Google Analytics? That's like kind of a review process, but even more important, it's the video, the marketing materials, the pricing, and so on. So that's the first step when we engage with the tabletop Kickstarter campaign. That's the first step. And the second step is, if we want to move forward and the campaign want to move forward, we usually like to start with a test, like keeping, reducing the risk for the client, also for us. Usually the test lasts 24 hours a day or maximum 48 hours. We usually spend $300, max $500 per day, just making sure things are clicking. And there's no setup fee. So once the test ends, we have a number, and that's the return on ad spend. That's according to Kickstarter, how much money we raised that appears in the Kickstarter dashboard. I'm getting a little bit technical.
That's okay.
Like, the dashboard records that appears with the name Green Inbox. So we know we can track this through our efforts. And good return, good ROAS, return on ad spend, is 500% or more. Anything below 300%, I would say it's not that good. We will probably tell the campaigner, listen, it's not working. Let's not waste any more money. Let's stop here. Yeah.
So I was going to say, so just to clarify, so you take, when you start the relationship with a company, the first thing you want to do is you want to do some low cost spend on their ads. So you're going to go and you're going to take some of their creative and you're going to create ads on Google and on Facebook, specifically driving people to their Kickstarter to their page. If they're to do it themselves, most people I think would, if they could do a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every dollar they spend, they're generating 2, they'd be pretty happy. Your company is aiming for 500%. So for every dollar spent, you're raising $5 as a success measure. And then once you decide that, yes, we've been able to get that ratio right using their creative and doing, some ads with a low spend, then the next step is what? Amplification? Then you amplify that, or how does that work?
Yeah. The goal is, once we pass the test again, the test goes both ways. The test for us, for the campaign, once we pass the test, we want to scale the budget further, like $300, $500. Then we'll go to $1,000. We'll spend a day or two, or maybe optimize, see that we're still getting the same return, more or less, and then increase again to $2,000. Spend a day or two. Of course, sometimes we reach a cap. Let's say for a specific campaign, we reach $2,000. That's it. Like above this, we can see that the returns are going down to 300%. So we're saying, okay, this is the amount we're going to spend per day, and maybe in the last couple of days we'll try to increase again. But the goal is to increase the daily budget as much as possible, as long as it makes sense, and we are happy, and the client is happy, and the campaigner is happy.
So so for a typical campaign, how many ads are going out per day? Is it like 1 ad or 4 ads? How many ads would you put out on a typical day?
Yeah, I want to go back. Before I said we are a tech marketing company, but actually the load, most of the load or most of the work is done by our creative team. So before we even start the ads, we need like a day or two to work on the creative, to work on the marketing assets. I can tell you that for the test, we will create, 50 assets. But if the test goes 50. Well,
wow.
Listen, you want to test different angles. This is the reason we can bring good results. And for campaigns that we scaled, scale them to $500,000 or $1 million or even further, I can tell you we tested more than 200 assets, different videos, different images, and so on. That's part of the reason we can bring good results.
So, and I'm just sharing my screen here for the people that are going to be watching the video section of this podcast. But you've dealt with some fairly large campaigns. So if I look at, we had the Bristol 1350. They were on our podcast with Travis Hancock. I know that even after that campaign closed, I think they landed over $1 million US. You guys were part of that campaign. The Stars of Icarios campaign with Brendan, that was almost $1 million. You've done some really large campaigns here, which I know for a lot of people, they get excited, right? So they look at this and say, wow, it seems simple. Maybe I can just hire Green Inbox and I'll hit $1 million, but it's not as simple as that, is it? there's a lot of kind of working collaboratively with the the people running the Kickstarter, with your company, and then there's got to be a lot of, is there software involved in this? Like, how do you I'm just trying to think, how do you manage the sheer volume of ads that you guys are running and doing different, say, classic A/B testing and so forth? How do you manage that volume?
Yeah, so it took us, I think, hundreds of campaigns during the years to reach the results we're reaching right now. And one of the things we realized that in order to be really good, we have to automate things. So so the person that's running the ads, it's not a person, it's a software. It's a software that do all this A/B testing. We are using Facebook ads not as a person, but as through their API, through their Facebook API. Same goes for Google. So we can, we can control, we can increase the channels that work and shut off the ones that don't.
And then in terms of creative, so just for clarity for people that are listening, you've got a pretty robust team, and they're not even here, are they? They're in another country.
Yeah, I'm right now. I'm in Canada.
Yep.
I've been here a year, and I'm gonna be here probably another year. But the company is incorporated in Israel, and most of the team is in Israel.
So that team takes creative that's provided by the client, right?
Yes.
And then they reformat it into ads. And I think it's important to clarify that, because I think some people might think, oh, I'll kind of hand the keys over to Green Inbox and they'll just go and create all of our creative for us. But it really starts with creative that you have as a company for your Kickstarter. And then your team takes those assets and works with them. Same as video as well, right? So you guys would take pre-existing video, edit it down to maybe the right length of time that's required for being deployed on, say, Facebook, Instagram, or even Google.
Yeah, I can give you like a really nice example regarding one of the campaigns you mentioned. For example, the Bristol 1350 by Facade Game. We took the video and we tested, I think, more than 10 different intros, like the first few seconds, because getting people attention is really hard. Yeah. So we played with that until we found the right opening, the right or the best 3 seconds that brought the best click-through rate. And that video went viral. I think over 1 million views, and the cost for that was not high, because again, it went viral. People commented, liked, shared on their Facebook profile, and so on.
And have you been able to, now that you're up to, as you said, almost 80% this past year of your campaigns were board game or tabletop games, has there been learning that you're able to build upon from that? So is there certain targets now that you've been able to lock into for people who are going to act on, say, an ad for board games? Are you able to leverage that at all? Or is there any kind of learning that you've been able to keep building upon as you've expanded on the board game side?
There is some similarity from campaign to campaign, but I think each campaign is different. Like eventually, like there's going to be some similarity, some overlap, something that worked here and going to work here. But I think what we see that each campaign is different, and it's not the same animal, if you could say that.
And is there any kind of remarketing? Like, I know that like Facebook, for instance, has their pixels, right? So that you can embed into campaigns, into your website. Is there any kind of remarketing to some people that have maybe clicked on these ads and you're able to go back and repeatedly hit them again and again, or?
It's part of the market. Let's say, in the last, let's say we're talking about a specific campaign.
Sure.
All the people that clicked on the ads, let's say again, we're just for the example for Bristol, all the people that clicked, engaged with the ads, we will retarget them on the last couple of days, just making sure they're not missing out. But overall, our marketing efforts is, we're not, it's not limited. We're always constantly testing and checking new audiences and so on. I personally, what we see, again, I'm going a little bit to the numbers.
Yep.
There is a number that's like frequency. How many impression each, on average, how many impression each user saw the ad. So I think we if it's above 2, that means that you're not doing a good job. So if you're asking about remarketing, retargeting, we are doing that, but we care about reaching new audiences more than the retargeting. Like that's so if we see that number above 2, it means that something is not right. We should we should change some stuff quickly.
So when I was kind of spitting out some of these large campaign numbers earlier on when I was scrolling through your website, $1 million campaign. So $1 million, that's a big number for a board game campaign.
Yeah.
So the typical $1 million campaign, how much advertising costs would go into your paid media advertising? Like, what would that budget look like? The people that are hitting $1 million.
Okay, so I think there's like 2 kinds of 2 million, or $500,000,
sure,
or $1 million, or 2 million. There's 2 kinds. There's the one that this is the first time, like immersive battle maps that we did 9,030, really close to $1 million. Or again, going back to Bristol, that this is his 4th campaign. He already sold on his website. He says, "I already sold games in $2 million. I don't know, more than 20,000 backers before, or 30,000 backers before he even started this campaign." So I think it's different if you have a community or not. So if you don't have a community, I think we can bring, again, $1 million. We can probably bring half or a quarter to a half. I think if you have a community, it's probably going to be less. It's going to be around the 20-25%. Again, rough estimation.
Yeah, as a percentage of what you bring in, but in terms of the total ad spend, what I'm trying to get to is the ad spend. So
the ad spend.
if I'm say going to raise $1 million in a campaign, what is that ad spend going to cost?
It's going to be around $50,000.
$50,000.
It's again, if you have a community, it can be
just
around
going on average.
30 to 50.
Okay, so $50,000. Now, and this is important because people listening again, they might think, "Oh gosh, I'll just call up Green Inbox, bang, I hit $1 million." There's a cost, right? And so, how do people manage that if they are obviously on Kickstarter because they don't have the funds, right? A lot of people go on Kickstarter because they don't have the funds to launch a game in a large way. So it's kind of like a chicken before the egg that maybe they'll have the funds when they hit their campaign target, or if they are blessed to hit $1 million, but they don't necessarily have that $50,000 up front in order to do that. So how do they deal with that?
Yeah, okay, that's a very big part of our, or I would say several clients. We did the test, and then they told us, "Listen, we're broke. We don't have any. Maybe we have $5,000."
Sure.
Or there is a use case, a previous client that they had only $600. And part of our services, we have a relationship with a venture fund that can borrow money for the ads. So it's like a bridge loan, because it's a bridge until you get the money from Kickstarter. And you can borrow up to $100,000 for the ads. So a lot of our clients were like, "Listen, I only have $5,000, $10,000, or even in one case, as I said before, $600." And then we borrowed again gradually. We're not looking to take $100,000 in the beginning. Probably it'll be 10 or 20, and then we'll see how this goes. And after that, we'll take another 20, and so on. And the cost for the bridge loan is 5%, which 5%. On one hand could be expensive if you think about 5% per month, on a mortgage or something like that. But so I'm going back to the example of these 2 guys from England that only had $600, and they took the $100,000 loan, and they raised 1.2 million.
Wow.
So they had to pay back the $100,000 we took as a loan and $5,000 as an interest rate. So I think if you look at the bigger picture, it's not that a lot.
That seems tiny. I can tell you firsthand right now, especially in the middle of COVID, it is almost impossible to get funding. Anybody that's watched Dragon's Den knows that to get funding for something like a board game is probably is pretty tough. So the fact that you have as a resource, a group you can tap into to help with that, and it sounds like it's like a bridge line of credit almost, right? Because you're not taking all the money up front, you're taking what you need, right? So you're going kind of as you need it.
Yeah.
And then quite frankly, the way Kickstarter works is after your campaign closes, it's about a couple of weeks, and then you get paid out based on your pledges. So it's not like you don't have that money then to pay back. I guess the risk is always that if for some reason you're pumping the money into the ads and you're not getting the payout, that's the risk, right? So you're pumping money, thousands of dollars into ads, and then if the payout's not there, be able to cover that off.
Okay, I want to comment. First of all, I think there is a bigger risk than that. First of all, if we see that things are not working, I'm not sure I mentioned that before, but our relationship with the campaigner is very, how should I say, very friendly. Yeah. We see it as a partnership, and there's no obligation to spend. Let's say we took a loan and we took $20,000 or $10,000. There's no obligation to spend any certain. There's no. You can spend $1,000 if you don't see the returns. You can always stop. There's no notice. You can. You wake up the next day and you had a bad dream and you don't want to do ads with us anymore. So no problem. Send me an email or a text or give me a phone and call me and just say, hey, I want to stop. And that's it. There's no notice. We stop the ads on the spot. So the campaigner is always in control. So I would say that's the pump the money into the ads and getting no return. I don't think that can happen. Of course, it can happen, but then we can stop. We have our way and thresholds to stop the ads if things are not working. I think the biggest risk is something that can happen, did happen in the past, that the campaign gets suspended by Kickstarter, doing something bad. I don't know. Yeah, it's not common, but it can happen. As I see it, that's the only risk.
That's fair. I think if you think about what you're saying earlier, that if your goal is to be like 400-500% or 4 to 5 time kind of factor in that advertising, you're only scaling up if you're seeing the return, right? So you start off small, and if you see that you're getting up to this kind of 5 times factor, then you keep going and you scale up more. And maybe if it drops, maybe you course correct and adjust. But you're not going to be in a situation where if you're doing like a 1-to-2 ratio that you're going to be telling the client, let's keep going, right? Something's fundamentally wrong that needs to be changed before you start spending any more money. So I guess that's a good way of saying mitigating that risk, right?
Yeah, that's a good, and I think one of the things, what we heard from clients, that we're very transparent and we provide a dashboard when the client sees everything, and he can refresh the dashboard every few seconds, and you will see exactly how much he spent, how much he got, what happened in, let's say we worked together for 2 weeks, so we can see what happened every single day. So again, transparency, communication, and the client is in control. The campaigner is in control.
Yeah.
So the risk for that, I don't think it's high. Of course, again, it's sometimes we manage $10,000 or $20,000 per day. So we need to monitor that and making sure that the returns are good, and creating like a software threshold that if it goes down beyond a certain threshold, we will stop or reduce the budget and so on.
Certainly, I think it can be intimidating, right? Like we're talking some very large numbers here. And I think some people might look at this and say, wow, $10,000 a day, holy smokes. If I raised $10,000, I'd be happy, right? So, but I think it's great having kind of these checks and balances in there. The one thing I would say, having gone through a campaign myself, is the resource you have the least of, quite frankly, is time. right? It is completely time intensive to monitor your campaign, to be constantly doing Facebook ads and reach out to your community and so forth. And a lot of people are doing these campaigns as one or two people that are running the campaign. It's not like most Kickstarters have like a massive team of people working on the Kickstarter. Most people, it's individuals. You might have, a few collaborators. So having a company like yourself, they can shoulder a lot of that load. Where again, as you're saying, you got 50 ads, you got a team in Israel that's working on, formatting the ads, getting the A/B testing, everything ready, and managing that must also come with a bit of a relief for people where they can free up time now to go and focus on things like, okay, now I need to focus on the community, or I need to do podcast interviews. I need to do different things to promote my game. I'm going to leave the social media side to the experts. I can tell you, I've never personally on any of the ads I've done with games got to a five-time factor. So I think that's incredible. So you kind of have the added benefit of somebody shouldering the load, plus actually being experts at what they do and being able to do it much more efficiently. So that's pretty cool. It's an interesting service for sure. I know there's several of them out in the market, and being a person that's done Kickstarter myself, you get inundated on day one from companies that say, hey, come with me. I'm going to help you with your social media. So I would encourage anybody that is going down this path. Yeah, exactly.
We did that in the past.
Yeah, of course. Everybody does. You gotta get your word out somehow, but do your homework.
It wasn't,
right?
I can tell you it wasn't nice.
No, you gotta do your homework. So if you're choosing a company, do your homework.
Yeah.
Look for previous successes. I had one company that reached out to me saying, we guarantee you a 5-time lift, guaranteed. And so I reached back out to the company. I said, okay, I'll bite. Give me an example of a board game that you've done already. And they said, well, we can't guarantee the success. And, they started kind of backpedaling a bit and said, there's different industries. It really depends on the industry. I said, just give me one example of a board game that you've done, so I know that you understand this industry. And they couldn't, they stopped contacting me. They couldn't come up with it. So I think the cool thing about Green Inbox, and I just went on your website, you have several examples of companies you've worked with. And I think that is a testament to you guys to be able to say, not only, here's our system, we're experts in this field, here's our proprietary software, but we actually have a proven track record that you can look up yourself and see, right? So I think that's pretty cool. What would you say, Eran, are for people out there that are looking to launch a Kickstarter? I know this isn't necessarily what your model is, but I'd be interested to get your opinion. When is the best time to launch a campaign, would you say?
The day or
the day of the week? Let's start off with that. The day of the week. When is, in your opinion? And I know.
Okay, so everybody's going. So I have how should I say perspective about human. It's a little bit about psychology.
Sure.
Most people have a memory for a week. You get into the weekend, you forget about everything. So and Monday it's pretty hectic. So a lot of people are launching on Tuesday, as you know. All the big ones. And we're okay with that. If you ask me, I would recommend people launching on Monday, because then there's less competition and you still enjoy the rest of the week. You could lose some traffic because Monday it's a bit hectic, but people are busy back from transitioning from the weekend to the regular work week. But overall, I think Monday or Tuesday would be good. If not, Wednesday. I can tell you that some of our clients, for example, Nemesis Lockdown, almost $6 million, they launched on Thursday. I think that was on purpose, not going into where everybody's launching. We want to be unique. We will launch it like in a day where we're the only one that goes live.
So pick a day where there's less noise. And then in terms of time of year, when's the best time of year, would you say, to launch a campaign?
I wouldn't go for November, December, January. I would go for February. And I think also the summer is pretty slow. But again, we saw right now it's summer and there's a lot of huge campaigns. But overall, this is what I personally think.
So kind of like an early winter type of a launch would be a window you usually go for?
Yeah, spring. Yeah, spring is good. And summer is not. I think summer people's attentions are elsewhere.
And then can you talk quickly? I know that I've read some things where I've seen you talk about the 1/3 rule. when setting your kind of your campaign budget. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so pricing is huge. Like being profitable is, one of the things we talked about the review process. So we usually ask the client, how much is it for you to make the broad game, to manufacture it, go to China or whatever you want to go. So and we even say go for the worst case because we want to make sure he's profitable. So let's say he says it's going to cost me $20. So we usually like to go for the, as you said, third. So third should go to production, third should go for marketing, and third as a profit for the company or the campaigner. So if the curator says, hey, it's going to be $20, so we recommend setting the price on $60 or around that number, let's say 50 and up. I think that would be our recommendation.
So that's a good rough math model if someone's trying to kind of map out, okay, how much, based on the price, if I'm trying to figure out what price of game I want to do, of course, you don't want to price yourself out of the market. Plan for a third of that spend to go towards marketing, third to manufacturing, and then the other third goes in your pocket. Where's Green Inbox go from here? What's the kind of on the horizon for you guys? Are you still going to kind of go down this path of board games? You see yourself expanding, going back to some of the other classic industries you worked on, or kind of what's next for you guys?
One thing that we started like as an experiment with some of our clients that were really happy about our services. They wanted to hire us for their online store. So it's still a test. We're working with several Shopify stores. I hope it can we're still, I wouldn't say we're an expert in that specific field. We still have a lot to learn, but we're seeing good results. And I think like in a year or two, we will be better.
So in addition to using your services to pull people to their Kickstarter page, now you're looking at pulling people straight to a shopping cart page. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, after the Kickstarter, when the campaign ends, you shipped all the rewards, whatever people pre-ordered, you ship it out. So you transition from pre-order to order mode, and that's an interesting stage because then you can, I think there is a certain segment in the population that would pre-order and wait a few months or support something that, they don't know what they get. But I think there's a larger segment, much bigger, that can, would buy if he likes the product, he will buy it and expect to receive it like in a week or two. So that's something else. It's a different segment, different audience. And I think that's even bigger than Kickstarter.
Oh, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on this podcast. This has been pretty educational, at least for me. I'm sure for other people listening as well. How best do people reach you? So if someone wants to reach out to you and learn more about Green Inbox, what's the best way they can contact you?
Just through email, support or support at greeninbox.com or ads@greeninbox.com.
So support at greeninbox.com, or you can go to greeninbox.com website. I'm sure there's contact information there.
Yeah.
Or of course, I'm sure you'll be chatting in the Board Game Binge Facebook group. And if people want to DM you there, I'm sure they can as well, right?
Yes, for sure. They can. Yeah, I'm a member. They can send me a private message on Facebook.
A little plug for me there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. All the best to you and your family. You take care.
Take care.
Cheers.